I'm not sure what happened to our music, but we're live, and I'm a live version of John Ryan. So welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Full Count Major League Baseball show powered by SportsMemo TV and the cast of shows. Kevin Thomas, who is the biggest Phillies fan I know, but he's also a very, very good professional sports bettor, and he's running pretty darn hot in just about everything he's touching right now. And welcome to the show for the second day in a row after making his debut. I must have treated him pretty good, Kevin. Why would you want to be on a show twice with me? But anyway, Jeff, welcome to the show. And by the way, Jeff, two things noteworthy to say. First and foremost, he's going to go for his 20th 5% winner tonight. What makes that special, he's only got two losses. He's 20, going for 20 and 2. He's currently 19 and 2. That 5%er is up on the site right now at sportsmemo.com. And if you do one thing today for yourself, go get that pick. The second thing I'm going to tell you about him, and it is a pretty darn cool thing because I have the utmost respect for his father. His father is Ralph Michaels of Wager Talk, and this is his son, Jeff. So welcome to the show, Jeff, and it is an honor to have you on this show, given the relationship for sure, you know?
I appreciate it. Glad to be back again for my second one in 2 days. So good way to start it.
Yeah. And Kevin, don't feel anything there. You and I are, tight brothers here, Okay, so Phillies, we're cool.
You threw me to Friday, though.
We'll get started here with your favorite team, I believe, is the Philadelphia Phillies taking on those Tomahawk Braves. And I must always say this on a show that involves the Braves. They didn't invent this. They're frauds. Absolute frauds. The Florida State Seminoles are the ones who get credit for that. And the Braves are copycatters. But they are the reigning world champs, so I'll let up a little bit on them. There's more things for me to get upset about with the NBA, but that's a different show. But this game here, we have Kyle Gibson, 8.5 is the over-under. He's 3-2, 3.98 ERA, going up against that Max Fried guy, left-hander, 4-2, 3.31 ERA. I'm going to start this game out with Kevin Thomas and his breakdown. I believe, Kevin, you're going to tell us that the Phillies are pretty good against left-handed pitching.
Oh, I will. But before I get to that, I must have made the all-star team. I'm with Jesse Shula and Mark Lawrence. We are the $2 Tuesday, or all three of us for $5 today over at Sports Memo. So make sure you check that out. But let's get right to these Phillies and these Braves. I'm not as confident as Mr. Ryan is of these Phillies today. You look at the Braves, their last two, when they come off a road game, they've lost their last two home games to start the series. And what they do last night, they lost the series. And they tried to do a bullpen pitching with Peterson, or, it was horrible. What they tried to do was horrible. And then the Phillies, on the other hand, I mean, they went through and used their closer. I mean, they had a lead, and they used their closer, and they used Brogdon. Who's going to be the closer tonight? I have no idea. Is Kyle Gibson going to get us the innings to get there? I don't know. 5 innings. His cutter looks great. I mean, I watched a couple of his highlights of the cutter. It looks great. But these Braves this Braves team is the world champs. They can hit the ball. And Matt Olson has great numbers against Gibson. That's one of the few that I could find. But then on the other side, you got Real Muto and Harper. Both of them hit Fried pretty good. I think 7-8 at bats, 3 hits. So it's going to be a slugfest. This is my $2 play, so I am not going to give a pick on this.
Nice. So that means people should go over and get your $2 play, damn it, and find out what your pick is.
Yes.
I mean, that is Hall of Fame material. Jesse Scholl, Mark Lawrence, and you. Whew.
Oh, the Phillies bat .252 against left-handers this season, ranked third. I forgot to mention that. It's a nice little stat. Fried is a lefty.
Yeah, and he's been a little shaky in my opinion. His ERA is in the high threes over the last 3 starts. He's given up 7 earned runs in the last 2 starts. And the Phillies are starting to score runs again. And I think that lineup, as you've heard me say time and time again, Kevin, on paper, that lineup I really expect to come together. They are, top 3 in a lot of different StatCast categories. Only reason they're not number 1 is because the New York Yankees. and their $500 million payroll. However, I do think the Phillies will come around. They'll get above 500 and they will contend, during the hot days of summer. But let's see what Jeff Michaels has to say here of JM Sports.
I'm kind of the same way, but as I'll get into with some of the other games, I think a lot of these pitching matchups are really talking about which pitcher you're going to get. Max Fried is 2-2 at home with a 3.9 ERA in 5 starts, 13 earned runs in 30 innings, and he's allowing batters to hit almost 270. Then you look at his night starts, and six of his 8 starts have been at night. He's 4-1 with a 3.11 ERA. So you got a definite difference there on the year. But even looking back in the last couple of years, Fried's 17-3 on the money line when they're a favorite between 100 and 150. He's 45-17 in his career as a favorite of 110 or higher. So there's a history behind what Fried can do, but if he can keep it up is a question. And Kyle Gibson's kind of been the same way. On the road, 4 starts on the road, he's got a 6.27 ERA, but in the last 2 seasons, he's 15-8 in the first half of his team is 15-8 in the first half of the season over the last 2 years. So he started the years hot, but Phillies are just 3-5 in their last 8 games. They're putting up under 3 runs, but they are 5-1 in the last 6 off double-digit hits and a win. So they did put up, I believe, 10 or 11 hits last night. But Atlanta's held the edge over Philly, especially at home in the last 3 years. They're 9-4, and Atlanta's putting up 5.2 runs against lefties. So, it really is kind of up in there. I think I got it to at least Atlanta in the first 5. Maybe that bullpen's a different story, but, there are questions in Philly's bullpen. But I don't know if I can go against Fried against an opponent like the way Philly's been playing. Sorry to step on the Philly parade, guys.
Well, I have a question for both of you, and that question is pretty simple. We've seen Rhys Hoskins be put into the leadoff spot in a non-traditional form. When I coached baseball, I took my best hitter, sometimes my best power hitter, and that was the leadoff guy. It's not always the fastest guy that should be leadoff anymore in modern baseball, in my opinion. And it seems to be working. There was some chatter on that radio station WIP in Philly that callers were calling in saying Hoskins, quote unquote, sucks. He doesn't know how to play. They should trade him. But number one is, if he sucks, what are you going to get for him? But number two is, I don't think he does. He has one of the best StatCast resumes, I'll call it, that I've seen with the Phillies. 91 mile an hour exit velocity, 46.3% hard hit percentage. Only Bryce Harper's better on the team. So in modern age, as much as I hate the uppercut swing and the fact that they're striking out more, but they're hitting more home runs, I'm trying to learn to like that style of game. But you take the batting averages anymore and throw them out the window and look at launch angle, and I'm adapting to it, and it seems to be working. But Kevin, what do you think of this? With the Phillies have 5 guys in the lineup, all averaging 90 or higher exit velocities, and Atlanta has 2. Do you think that's going to be a little overwhelming for Fried, or do you think he's so damn good that he's just going to mow him down?
I don't. I think he's going to get into some pitch counts here. So if there's an early exit, then the Phillies will stomp the Braves, because if they got to go to that bullpen, it's not the best in the world. And I don't think Jansen's even pitching. But back to your point about Hoskins, I don't know why he's batting first. What happened to Segura? He could bat first, and then Camargo. The kid, he's dynamite against the Braves. That's his old team, so he always steps up. I would throw him into one hole. Let Rhys bat second. He's a power hitter. He's not going to be out there stealing bases. We need, Roman Quinn. Oh, what the hell? We need Moniak. Come on. But yeah, it's. I think they could space out a little better. It's like he's cramming all the power hitters up in the top, but that we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think Quinn is more of a defensive guy. He's had an unbelievable throw last night, throwing a guy out at home. I saw that on the highlight, and his hand speed at the release was 99 miles an hour.
Wow, amazing.
And it was noted that he is available for relief pitching if necessary in those
He
games that
should.
they bring in a position player.
Pujols
Can you
can do it.
imagine
Why
a guy
not?
that doesn't pitch throwing 99 at you and has like maybe control issues? Holy moly. Jeff, what do you think about the Phillies batting with or five guys with 90-mile-an-hour exit velocities and higher going up against Fried, the lefty? Most of those guys are right-handed except for Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the mentality that you even mentioned, John, all that uppercut swings, swinging for the fences kind of mentality. Really, the cleanup batter has become the most important role when you talk about like a role position in the batting order, and all it's about ahead of him is getting somebody on base. And like you guys said, he's not a base stealer, he's not a speed guy. Not my opinion that he would be up that high. But, at this point, you're playing for the 3-4 guys, but, you got 5 guys through that lineup that can hit the ball for distance. If you can get a couple guys on base before you really get to the bulk of that order, one swing turns from, 1 run to 3 real quickly. So if you're really just playing for those big bats, then, maybe in Philly, speed isn't the priority at the top of the order. But that comes with the team and comes with personal opinion, because I'm still kind of with Kevin that I think the top of the order is the speed, the guy that gets on base, but the guy that can steal over and advance himself.
Yeah, I think the whole theory with it, and it's interesting to talk about, and I hope the chat room likes it too, is that like Aaron Judge, I believe, bats second, right?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily for the first time through the lineup, but if you assume that you're not going to get no hit, when you come around that third time in the batting order to start the third time through and assuming the starting pitcher's still in, the odds are pretty good that that will be the inning that you might have some runners on base for a guy like Aaron Judge or a guy like Rhys Hoskins, who is only the leadoff batter for the first at bat of the game. I think where the value comes in is that second, third time through the lineup if that starter's still in the game. And you get, the highest pressure situation for a pitcher is first and third. And you get a guy like Rhys up there that's sitting on a fastball. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And if anybody knows differently, feel free to tell me, because I'm all about learning. But I think that's the theory behind it. But we'll have to see how that goes.
And when you have the depth to the lineup, it turns into an RBI position later down the line.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that assumes that your bottom guys get on base, and they have started to do that as a team. Their batting average isn't that bad relative to the rest of the league. 10 years ago, it would have been just darn right awful. It would have been one of the worst batting averages in the league, but now things are different. So I guess the sum of the story is don't pay attention to batting average anymore. It might be worthless. Let's move on to our next game. And let's see here. That's the Philly game. Now we got the Milwaukee Brewers and the San Diego Padres. I was dead wrong on this one yesterday. Kudos to Rocky, who had the play on the San Diego Padres, and that was a good win for him. But this is game number 2 now. Milwaukee hasn't lost 2 in a row in quite a while. Let's start with Kevin Thomas and see what he's got for us in this matchup.
Yeah, you got Corbin Burns, who's off probably the worst start of his season so far, and compared to some other guys in the league, it isn't that bad. But I saw another little stat. I know there's a lot of stat people out there. The Brewers are 5-1 when the total's at 6.5 or lower. This total opened at 6.5, and for good reason, because Corbin Burns wants to make up for that shitty performance. But the other thing is the Padres. I mean, neither team's hitting. I think Corbin Burns, all-star last year, has 1 win. But if you look at all his games, he has no run support. It's like his team doesn't want to score when he pitches. I'm gonna make it short and sweet. I'm liking the under the 6.5. It might even got plussed up to 7 by now, because I know all the people were all over that. But Corbin Burns is going to show up big here, and that total is going to go under, because I just don't see the Brewers showing up. Bats.
It's interesting because San Diego is a team that is, you thought they would be there maybe when Tatis is back, but think about this team. And sure, when he comes back, maybe they'll go through some chemistry issues in the lineup, and they'll have to figure that out. But I don't think it's going to take very long. And you would think that he would bring some more offense to that team down the line, especially when they get into those divisional races where it matters most. But let's turn it over to Jeff here and see what he thinks of this matchup and any possible best bet opportunities.
Yeah, Ken, just going what you said. I mean, Corbin Burns, you're right. He's 1-2, and 1-2 is unbelievable to me with a 2.26 ERA. He hasn't won a game on the road decision wise in 4 starts. He's 0-1, but his ERA is 1.8. So it really does come down to that run support. Milwaukee, like you said, is off back-to-back losses. They only put up 2 runs in both those games, but they are 8-2 in the last 10 after back-to-back games with 2 or less runs. So they have had a tendency to bounce back. But on the other hand, they're only putting up 2.9 runs against lefties, batting .214. So, Milwaukee's got some question marks, yet San Diego, on the other hand, still doesn't totally convince me. And they've won 7 out of their last 8. They've won 5 straight games. They're putting up 5 runs a game, and they're allowing just 2 runs in the last 7. But then you got Blake Snell, although he's only got 1 start this year, allowed 3 earned runs on 3 hits in 3.2 innings. And in 1 start against Milwaukee in his career, he gave up 5 earned runs on 5 hits in 3 2/3 innings. So, he has a history. He's 27-9 playing again, his team is 27-9 in games that he starts against teams over 500. So we all know the Blake Snell that we saw in the past, but I find myself leaning towards San Diego with the way that they're playing. But, if Milwaukee's bats wake up, Blake Snell is one that they could take advantage of. But, I do find myself leaning San Diego, and I'm also siding with Kevin because I don't see Milwaukee's bats waking up. So I'm leaning towards the under too.
It's good stuff. One question for both, and you can take whoever wants to answer first is fine. Once you get through these starting pitchers and the relievers come in, is there any concern with backing the Padres? In other words, is there a reliever that might be in the game tonight that would maybe awaken these Milwaukee bats and set up a come from behind type of situation? Maybe there's not. I always get nervous when I'm doing anything beyond first 5 in a game like this because as Milwaukee's not really hitting efficiently, but when they do, it's scary. And that's the only thing I have like reservation with backing the Padres in this matchup. But maybe you guys can tell me I shouldn't worry.
There's always that question with Milwaukee because, we know you look at their lineup on paper, their lineup looks obviously better than it's performing offensively. So, a 7.36 ERA that Snell has put up, Snell could even potentially be a pitcher that they could take advantage of. I don't think it comes down to a pitcher quite as much to, whenever these bats finally decide to wake up, because they can jump over whatever pitcher they want once those bats are awoken.
Yeah, I had this game 3-2, and I have it either way. I like the under, but I don't see more runs than that because that Burns can go 7 innings, and that Brewers bullpen is probably one of the top notch for the past several years. They just know how to go out there and compete. So I don't see a lot of runs scored even after he comes off, but it's going to come up to the Brewers bats, and I see Snell might go 5 tonight. I mean, even though he gave up 3 hits, he only gave up 3 hits, but he struck out 5. And he used to be a dominant pitcher, and that more is a pitching park there. So I just don't see a lot of runs. So this is a toss up. If I was going to bet it, I would go with whoever's getting the plus money line and just go small on it. But my money would be on the under.
Okay, I'd like the under too. And longer Snell goes, obviously, if he would pitch into the 6th, it's obviously playing under. That's for sure.
He might be on a pitch count. I'm not sure. But this is his spring training.
That's a good point.
That first game was spring. So this one, I think with the home fans, I think they get behind him. I think you can get 5 innings out of him. So I think if they can get there, I'm not sure about their bullpen. I don't follow the Padres that hard.
Good stuff. Our third and final game is in the late night card. I believe it's the last game to start, 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the New York Mets taking on the San Francisco Giants. The Mets are doing quite well. They've kind of cooled off a little bit, but they have a good pitching matchup here with Chris Bassett on the hill, 4-2, the 2.77 ERA against Logan Webb, and he's doing outstanding, 5-1. But he gets run support, unlike some of the guys we've already talked about. 3.54 ERA, but he's 5-1. That's pretty good stuff when you can go 3.54, and then there's a poor guy that's an ERA close to 2 on the nose, and he's got a losing record. But Jacob deGrom had a losing record too, and a ERA of like 1.7 or whatever the heck it was, and he won the Cy Young. So let's start with Jeff this time and see what he has for us in the Mets-Giants late night matchup.
John, that was my best bet winner yesterday. I put him on the run line. I took the Mets on the run line because I thought that line was, surprisingly favored the Giants. So I took a little bit of the, I didn't expect a 13-run game, to be completely honest. Mets have been playing well, but with Bassett on the mound, not only is Bassett's ERA impressive, the team's won 3 straight starts with him on the mound, and he's got a .51 ERA on the road. He's allowed just 1 earned run in 17 2/3 innings pitched. And I mean, the team on the road is 8-2 when the money line's between 120 plus and minus 125. So those games that are basically pick 'em have gone the Mets' way a majority of the time this season. So they're 16-7 on the road, putting up over 5 runs a game. They're 24-7 against right-handed pitchers. And for whatever reason, they're 8-1 on Tuesdays this year. So whatever is going on Tuesday is going in the Mets' favor. So they're 11-4 against teams over 500, and the Giants have just been slowly headed the other way. Their pitching is incredible. Like you said, Webb has been impressive on the mound. He's 15-1 as a home favorite of 110 or more in the last 2 years. And he's 17-1, or again, his team is 17-1 in all his home starts the last 2 years. And, their pitching and their defense, they've allowed over 7 runs a game in the last 7 games, and they got 5 straight losses. So, I find myself sticking with the Mets again on this one.
Yeah, it's good stuff, Jeff. What do you guys think of this 17-0 situation? Before I turn it over to Kevin, DT plus the points brought to our attention the last 17 regular season home games. And I'm going to get that off of the screen there. We have this from DT plus 17 regular season home starts, 17-0.
Wow.
And I didn't know that. I'll admit it. I probably should know that. But being a bit of a contrarian that I am, when I see angles that are this perfect, I kind of get queasy backing them. It almost like puts me right in the direction of backing the Mets, because sooner or later, when they're this mature, they reverse. It's like last year with the White Sox against left-handed pitching. They were awesome. They were like 22-4 at one point. Everybody in the world found out about it, and all of a sudden they barely were 500 the rest of the season against left-handers. So it works its way through. But do you think this has any bearing to putting money on it while you do your breakdown, Kevin Thomas?
I'm not a stat guy. All I know is I'm a player guy, and I know I was shocked the Giants are even above 500. People are like, "Why do you mean they have a great pitching staff?" Because Buster Posey's not there anymore, and he's the heart and soul of that team. The guy was amazing. The numbers he put up was amazing, and these Giants pitchers could have a couple miscues and stuff, and they had a ton of run support. They're on their 5-game losing streak, and they scored 15 runs in 5 games, and they have allowed 38 runs. How do you come out of that when it's in your head? I don't care who's pitching. I would lean towards the Mets here. I mean, you look at Bassett. We talked about him being 4-2. 3 of those 4 wins are on the road. So the guy knows how to get it done on the road, and he likes being out in LA, right? Old Oakland A. He's back out there where he feels comfortable. So I would take the Mets here and then put some money on the under just because I don't think the Giants can score more than 3 runs.
That's good stuff, and that is pretty bad. You said 15 runs scored over the last 5 games?
Yeah, total 15 runs, and they gave up 38.
Well, if you're the visitor, that's outstanding. But if you're the Giants, that's pretty poor. Boy, that's a tough one. So, what was our summary on the? Was there a lean that you think we had on that game, or?
I like Bassett. I mean, like I said, 3 of his 4 wins are on the road. The guy can pitch on the road, and I think the Mets could put up 3 or 4 runs. I don't know if the Giants can match that. And maybe 3 runs, but the Mets do have injuries in the bullpen, so they need to ride. He's got to get at least 6.5 innings, I would think. They've been banged up pretty much for the past couple of weeks, the Mets bullpen, but they're still getting the wins.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Jeff?
No, I agree. I'm running Bassett and Mets too.
One more comment here from DT Plus in this game. The Giants, that is, not Webb himself. The Giants are 17-0 websites. Okay, well, I was taking it as that. That's good. Dodgers beat him in the playoffs.
Okay, so that's where my 17-1 came from.
Yep.
I just looked the last 2 years, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Now we're on to the best part of the show, and probably the toughest. We come up with our best bets for the show. I think I'll start off, if that's all right with you guys. And I'm going to put the graphic back up here, and this is the Major League Baseball angle of the day. I do the same thing for the NBA shows. And, in about half an hour or so, Joe Ranieri and his crew will be doing the NBA show, and I have one up for them over there. And, it's just an angle. You use it for what it's worth. You don't have to agree with it. If you disagree with it, then, you don't bet it. But it's something that I thought was pretty simple to understand and very reliable. So you're going to bet on home favorites. Starting pitcher allows less than half a home run per start. And the bullpen was absolutely hammered for 6 or more earned runs. So this is contrarian to what we just talked about. And it's only that way, not because I'm thinking the Giants. It's just that the analytics now are adding a little bit of confusion to the handicapping process here. And this is what we go through as pros. I mean, it's a perfect example where you think you're onto something. The Mets, the Giants. The Giants are certainly old too, and it makes it harder to determine which team to take. But this has gone 35-6, 85% winning bets last 5 seasons, 19-5, 79% winning bets last 3 seasons. Tells us that we should be betting on the Giants tonight. So I don't mean to add confusion to this, but that's my show. Best bet, and I bet you Ralph Michaels would love a breakdown of the TNA segment of the Major League Baseball show. I had to say that, Jeff. Sorry. So let's see here. We're back here now. Let's go to Jeff here for his best bet for the show, and that is going to be on. I'm going to let him tell you. Jeff, I think your mic's muted.
Oh, can you hear me now?
There you go.
My bad. Sorry, guys. So top one's going to be Miami and Tampa Bay under that 6.5. We talked a lot about pitching matchups today and those Cy Young caliber pitching matchups that we got, but this really could be the best one. You look at the teams aside, you got Pablo Lopez. He's 4-1 with a 1.57 ERA. His ERA on the road is 0.47, allowing just 1 run in 19 innings pitched on the road. And opponents are hitting just 164. He's 4-1 at night. His ERA is 1.54 in 7 starts at night. And batters are hitting 188 on him at night. And then McClanahan, on the other hand, he's pitching just as well. 3 earned runs in his last 3 starts, which is 19 1/3 innings. Batters are hitting under 200 in Tampa Bay, and his ERA is a little bit higher, but it's still under 3. You know, the Marlins are 2-12 over under on the road after 5 consecutive home games, and they're 6-12 on the road this year, over under on the year this year. You know, Tampa Bay, they've gone under in 5 of 7 of McClanahan's starts on the year, and they're 8-13 over under at home. And, you know, they're 4-8 in the last 12 games at home with a day of rest. So even the day of rest isn't helping them put up the runs. And as it stands right now, you got 2 of the best pitchers in the American League facing off against each other.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Now we'll go to Kevin Thomas, and then we'll wrap it up. I want to review what's going on over at Sports Memo after Kevin Thomas's best bet. And in fact, Kevin, when you're done, you can be the leadoff for that segment and tell us all what you have going and get people over there to buy it.
Problem. I'm looking at the Red Sox versus the White Sox game. I know Nick Pivetta. If you follow any of my picks, I usually fade the guy. Being an ex-Philly, watching him pitch wasn't the best, but he's found his niche in Boston, and he won his last 2 starts. He's getting about plus 145 to 150 here to play the White Sox, and now I know, they got their ace on the mound, but they're coming off they had a bye, they had a day off, but prior to that, they had 9 on the road, and that last game was a doubleheader against the Yankees. So you tell me these guys didn't come home, enjoy their day off. You think they want to come back and get right back into it? I think the Boston Red Sox steal this win behind Pivetta. I mean, the guy's giving up some hits, but they're not turning into runs, so I'm fine with that. I think the line might be a little high because I'm pretty sure JD Martinez might be out for this game, which would affect the batting, but I expect a low-scoring game, but I think Boston can steal this win.
I like it. In terms of what's going on at sportsmemo.com, we got Kevin Thomas lined up with Jesse Schul and Mark Thomas.
$2 Tuesday.
And that's a steal. You get all 3 of those guys for just $5 right now.
I'm going to buy it just to see what they're on, actually.
That's less than an IPA, guys. I mean, if you can't afford that, you're watching the wrong show. You should be watching Sam Adams Brewery or something, maybe, and how they make beer. I have no idea, but $5 is an absolute steal. But, you know, also going tonight is a 5%er max bet from Jeff.
10.
Mike. 10.
10, big one.
That's as good as it gets. I had a 10 on Miami Heat on Saturday, and I get very nervous because I know people are buying it, and you don't want to lose. You know, you don't want to lose for them and have them feel bad, or worse yet, not like you. I don't like not being liked. But he's 19-2, guys and gals. 19-2. Major League Baseball. You know, get the $2 guys, and then get his 10-unit max best bet. Okay, that's almost like an order that I'm demanding you to do. In fact, don't even buy my 4% NBA play, even though I'm 18-5 in NBA totals and now ranked number 1 at Sports Memo for the entire NBA season, which will be the second of the last 3 years. And I humbly say that because the gambling gods are always listening, and I don't want to come crumbling and crashing off the cliff here in the last couple of weeks of the NBA season. But do yourself a favor and get Jeff's 5%er and then get on board for $5 more. Those 3 guys, including our own Kevin Thomas here on the show. So I thank you guys very much for being on the show. This will conclude the Tuesday edition, May 24th, 2022 Full Count Baseball Show. And until tomorrow when we see you again, remember 2 things. Bet with your head and not over it. And may all the wins continue to be yours.